What's up, my friends? I don't know if this is. Ah, brother. I already made a video like this. This video is gonna be kind of similar to another video that I made, but I'm gonna delete that one because I made some jokes that I'm not that proud of. And frankly, I am somebody that strives to be proud of everything I do. And at the moment, kind of like out of the billions of things I've done, I think I'm probably proud of maybe five or six, maybe. But all that being said, I want to talk about something that's kind of emotional, kind of, um, kind of deep and sad and, but important. And that being said, and also I know my lighting's not so good, but you can see my tats, and that's what's really important. What I wanted to talk about is this thing called covert avoidance. I'm not the biggest fan of all these different names and terms and disorders that you'll find on the internet. I think a lot of them are, you can associate a bunch of them with yourself, and you do that, and then, then what? And then you prescribe yourself with all these different things, and it just confuses you and complicates everything, and it's hard, it's tough. That being said, covert avoidance, I actually think is very real and very common, and it's something that I know that I deal with. I would say one thing is that if you're somebody that tends to feel kind of empty in situations where a lot of times you would imagine you're going to be very emotional. If when you're at work and you're doing things, you are just constantly just like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. You might do it because you might push through because you feel like you have to, but there isn't a single time where you're just like really motivated to get something done. If you're around people that you care about, but you don't feel it, like you feel kind of lonely, um, this lighting sucks. Can't fix it. Switch it up. If you feel like in relationships, sometimes, you feel this intense love for somebody, but at the same time, you just can't get yourself sometimes to really put yourself out to that person. You don't feel like you can show that person every bit of yourself. And I'm not talking about every bit of yourself like there's something wrong with every bit of yourself. Just that you're afraid to show it. I ain't no doctor, but I'm leaning towards prescribing you with covert avoidance, or diagnosing you rather. And if that is the case, then look at how you were as a little wee man or a little wee girl or other. Was there something in your childhood that told you, I gotta hide in plain sight? I have to make myself not known, even though I know I'm gonna be around a bunch of people. If that's the case, then that's covert avoidance. And that childhood trait or habit grew into a thing that now you deal with every single day. And in moments where it's all good and dandy, you're dealing with it. For me, in my story, I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I'll be real with you guys. It mainly comes from the fact that growing up, I had parents that were very, very, very harsh to each other. They weren't the best to each other. Doesn't mean anything about them as people, because they're wonderful, wonderful people that I love very much. But together, they kind of, that looks like they're lesbian. I mean, that still doesn't look good. Why do we have to have every hand motion be sexual? They clash. And they would clash real, 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 real bad. And as a kid, I learned very early on that the best way to deal with that was to avoid it. But I ended up having to deal with it a lot. I got dragged into it. I got put in the middle because it was like a crutch to them. Sorry, I got a vocab word. Catacheresis. Misuse of words for paradoxical effect or emphasis. Not using that one. Because of that clash and because of the fact that I got put in the middle, I learned and developed this trait of staying in my room, keeping my ears to the door, but at the same time trying to empty my mind of feelings and just dissociate all the time. I found ways to distract myself, and I found ways to make myself unknown to the rest of the world and to the people that were around me. At school, I was just I was a wall to everybody. I was a wall. But during that time, during the hardest part of that time when it was at a peak, I started boxing. And when I started boxing with a coach by the name of Johnny. Johnny was probably my number one mentor during like the biggest learning point of everybody's life, which is when they're in high school or middle school, that time period, or college even. Um, he was my mentor. He was my number one person that was trying to push me into becoming a man. Besides maybe my dad, but I was dealing with the stuff with my dad and my mom every day, and the only person that I didn't have to deal with conflict in relation to learning was Johnny. And the number one thing he always tried to do was every single time I made any kind of gesture or feeling or I showed any kind of emphasis towards the idea that I was closing off or trying to not be seen, he told me, stop fucking doing that. I had really long hair back then. I had hair that would go down about here. You can see it in a lot of old pictures of me. My ID, it has it. And when I was boxing and I was sparring, I'd have to wear a band to cover up to pull it up. As soon as I got out the ring, though, I'd take it off. My hair would fall over my eyes. Whenever we take pictures or anything, I would uh, I would cover that. I would cover up my face with my hair, and nobody would see me. But the number one person that didn't appreciate that was Johnny. And every time I was like that, he would pull up my hair and he'd make sure that the camera, if they were taking pictures, the camera would see my face. And even outside of that, when new people would walk into the gym and he'd introduce me, pull up my hair. He was always trying to make sure that I was seen while I was trying to hide in plain sight and not be. I wouldn't talk to anybody besides Johnny. I didn't talk to anybody. I always try to hide away. I always try to be this empty shell of a person. I was there, but I didn't want to be there because I was not really ready for any type of conflict, even though there was not going to be any conflict. I mean, there's conflict in the ring, and that's the ironic part, and I was cool with that. Like, here's an example. If that loads. Little old me and Johnny, and there's him pulling up my hair. But in that time, I'll be honest with you and say, I remember everything he said, and I listened to everything he said, but I didn't follow it very well because oftentimes I would fall back into that trait. And more often than not, for good reason. I was just protecting myself. But I didn't need to, and I especially don't need to now. But that trait followed me since. The thing that sucks is that in January, Johnny died. And when he died, I hadn't talked to him in about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And all because I was doing the same thing that he pushed me not to do. I was hiding away in plain sight. I was trying to act like I wasn't there. My life was progressing. I was working a good job. I am working a good job, and I have a career, and I have a girlfriend. I have friends. I have all this stuff. But the thing that sucks is that I I did the very thing that he was telling me not to do, or that he was pushing me not to do. And I have all these things around me to be happy about. People that care about me, lots of people that care about me. I don't have to worry about money. I have the good job that I got to make money. But I'm just always so worried. Always so worried. I didn't need to be. And if I didn't do that. If I didn't do that, then, I wouldn't have had to live with the fact that Johnny was not a part of my life for a good period of time before he died, and that I was neglectful to the person that was really the most important person in my learning experience, or one of. If I really think about it, I don't think that I would even really be here if it weren't for Johnny, because it was just such a hard time in my life. And the only person, when I say this, I mean this, the only person that was consistent and was safe in a sense, but at the same time pushing me to open up, was him. Only person I had. And so I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing if it weren't for the fact that I had that. So in conclusion, I say all this to say that there's a lot around you to be happy for. There's people in these times where maybe you put your head down or you close off. There's people that think you're the shit. Even still. Even with you covering your face. Or you turning around, with you closing off, with you not making yourself there in situations, you finding ways to distract yourself. There's people that still think you're the shit. So how will people feel when you open up? And when you put your head up? And when you show yourself to the world, how will people feel? I mean, and even past that, there's people in your life that care about you, that deserve to see that part of you, because they deserve to feel loved. They deserve to feel cared for in the same way that they care about you, or really in the way that you care about them. They just deserve to see it in its entire regard, and you deserve to feel it. So you don't want to miss out on all of that and miss it because you're trying to hide away, because you're afraid of that conflict. So what you can do about that is just make a commitment. There's nothing that you're going to be able to change at this very, very moment. Maybe there is, but probably not. But as you go about your day, as you go about today and tomorrow and the day after that, every time you feel like you're going into that habit of hiding, of closing off, of doing this and that, of trying to make conflict invisible, tell yourself to shut up. Tell the you that's in your head to shut up. Embrace those moments where there's a little bit of awkwardness. Deal with it. Make that awkwardness go away by talking, by being you. And make sure people see your eyes. Because people deserve to see them. And you deserve to be able to show them off. So that's all I got to say. Have a beautiful day and days ahead. And one more thing in life. If you can love and do what you want openly, it'll all work out. And fuck anybody who tells you you shouldn't love what you want to love or do what it is you want to do. So see ya. Bye-bye. Where is the stop button? Oh, there it is.